Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sending the Wolf. My name is Clarke Wolfe. It is great to see you all. Happy Thursday. I hope all is well and everyone out there is having a great day. But I hope that always. It's like a ton of news, a ton of things to talk about today. So I'm looking forward to getting into it. And as always, if you you know, if you are in the chat, please say hello. You're welcome to lurk. But I hope that you'll say hello. It's always fun when y'all are here. So yeah, how's everybody doing? Hi, Steven. Great to see you. Hi, Colibre. Great to see you. Hi, other Steven. Hi, Steven B. Good to see you. And Steven T. Hi, Mike. Great to see you. Thanks for joining today. I don't know about you, but I had a busy day today. Hi, Andrew Thomas. Great to see you. Thank you. Welcome. Great to see you guys. I have had a really busy day today. Having some meetings on a new project that I hope comes through, but who knows? Don't want to put the cart before the horse. Hi, Nicholas. Oh yes, your work wanted to see if I saw Osgood Perkins' message for all of us about the monkey. Was it about the post-credit scene? So this is fun for me slash not fun for me. I guess I'm gonna have to go back and see the movie again because I didn't see a post-credit scene. Whether it played at my screening last week or it didn't, I kind of scooted a little early. The movie ended, it had been raining, it was cold, and I was like, I'm gonna scoot my boots. So I got out of there and I didn't see any post-credits news. Hi, Alexander. Great to see you. Thanks for being here, everyone. Hi, another Mr. Lizard. Welcome. Thanks for being here, y'all. And I hope you all enjoyed our conversation with Freaky and Heart Eyes writer Michael Kennedy on Tuesday. It was a lot of fun. If you haven't already, go back and check it out. We answered a lot of your questions from social media and from the Discord and the Patreon and so on. So great insight from Michael, and I'm looking forward to cutting that and putting it up as one of our first podcast episodes. So the interviews will hopefully become podcasts in the very, very near future. Hi, Chris. Great to see you. Happy Thursday. Hi, Brian. Yeah, totally big news day. Oh, Nicholas. No, it was like him being Alfred Hitchcock. Oh, that's kind of perfect considering who his dad is. I'm gonna have to pull that up. I did my news cycle this morning before I left the house because I had to run out and go to a meeting, but we'll definitely look that up. Speaking of the monkey, I saw it last week. I figured some people don't know or maybe missed our news, but I announced it earlier this week. So the schedule, Thursdays are going to stay the same, but the show is moving from Monday to Tuesday. So that's why we did our show on Tuesday this week with Michael Kennedy as our guest, and Anthony DeBlasi, writer and director of Malum and The Last Shift and many other things, will be our guest next Tuesday. So if you haven't already, drop any sort of questions or thoughts in the Discord or on the Patreon. And I can't wait to have Anthony. He's going to be a lot of fun to talk to. So also, last night, I watched Dune 2 finally. Tell me in the chat, any Dune fans? I know a lot of people who are saying that was their favorite movie of last year, and I just didn't hustle to the theater and see it. So I had to watch it at home, which was good. Hi, Jeremy, which I thought was good, but I like watching things at home, especially longer things, because it gives me an opportunity to focus. But that said, so I watched Dune 2 last night and I liked it. Chris says Dune was in my top 10 last year. Steven says I love Dune, mainly the books. Yeah, I Mirror says Austin Butler was great in that movie. He was wearing a bald cap. Isn't that wild? It looked really good. But I could kind of tell that he was maybe wearing a bald cap. Although, to be fair, I also felt like his head shape was kind of like intentionally a little jarring. Um, Another Mr. Lizard says, I enjoyed Dune too, but I'll watch most anything if it has Rebecca Ferguson. Same. I love Rebecca Ferguson. I think she's great. I love her and everything she's in. But so I thought that, it's funny. I was unspoiled for Dune 2 because I've never read the books and I have not seen the David Lynch movie. Yeah, Chris says the Florence Pugh fan and me wanted more Florence scenes. Yeah, she was not in it very much. Nicholas says Dune Part 2 was great and is in my top 10, but it was breathtaking in IMAX. It also helped that I caught the re-release of Part 1 the week before it came out. Yeah, for sure. So let's see. It would have been last year. I went over to talk about him all the time, my buddy Hector's house, and we watched Dune Part 1 in 3D. So that was really fun. Not my first time seeing it, but first time seeing it in 3D. And unfortunately, they didn't release Dune Part 2 in 3D. I bet that was going to be awesome. Another Mr. Lizard says Christopher Walken kind of took me out of it for a bit. I feel you on that. Alvaro says Dune 2 is great. I can't wait to see how they adapt Dune Messiah because the ending of part 2 changes some things. Mirror says I prefer the Baron and David Lynch's version. He's far more brutal and grotesque. Yeah, so I had not been spoiled about what happens in the books or in the first movie, meaning Lynch's Dune. But I had known that, a lot of my friends were like, it takes the traditional, chosen one, Messiah, whatever trope and kind of turns it on his head. So I was like, okay, cool. That's kind of all I knew. And then I watched it and I was like, I don't really know if I would agree with that. I didn't, I guess for me, it wasn't enough of a departure from like the traditional sort of chosen one story that we've seen so many times, especially in genre film and television. And full credit to Frank Herbert. Like I totally understand that it's not Dune's fault that so much of pop culture, especially fantasy and science fiction, has like ripped off Dune over the years. That is definitely not the Dune's fault. So I can vibe with that. But I guess I had just been kind of promised that the movie was, or that Dune does something really interesting with the Paul character, and I didn't really feel like it did. I kind of just was like, okay, so he's kind of a dick. Like, all right, I don't know. So I liked the movie fine. Cinematography, I mean, astonishing. Like filmmaking, fabulous. Like there's no, it's the same thing that I always kind of harp on, especially when it comes to like horror direction, let's say. Dune Part 2, arguably one of the best directed movies, I mean, of the year for sure. And Denis Villeneuve is not like, not being talked about seriously. I mean, was he even nominated this year? Chat, can you remind me? Ooh, what did I just did? Hi Steve. Hi ZSH. Let's see. What do we have here in chat? ZSH says, so I've consumed everything related to Dune in existence for the past 30 years, so I wasn't as impressed as everyone else I know, but I can imagine this was my intro to the Dune universe. Mirror says they are not adapting Messiah for the third. They are making a completely new story. Steven says, I am not a fan of Dune personally. For me, they are really long and just not my genre or for me. Denis is a cold director to me, and I like more emotional character stories. completely agree with you, Steven. I felt the same way. I kind of was like, and look, Denny, he is a fantastic director. There is no doubt about it. But you're right. His style is a bit cold. It's a bit calculated. It's a bit detached. For instance, I've never gotten into Arrival. I feel like Arrival kind of keeps you at arm's length. And so I can't really fall in love with that movie. And like Prisoners a lot. I like the performances in Prisoners a lot, but obviously that's a movie that holds you like is a very cold film. And so yeah, so I liked, oh, and same with Blade Runner, by the way. Another great example. Like Blade Runner 2094. Like I remarkable filmmaking, but it's cold. And I don't think Ridley Scott is a cold filmmaker. He's a sassy filmmaker, but if anything, he's very spicy in a lot of ways. So I guess this is to say that, like, yeah, I totally agree with you, Steven. Hi, Steve. He was not nominated. Okay, thank you, chat. Yeah, so like that's a huge mistake. Denis Villeneuve should have been nominated. Dune Part 2 is arguably one of the best directed movies of the year. But again, because it's genre, because it is a big movie, a big Hollywood blockbuster film, because it is like for these reasons that John Chu is left out of the conversation, Denny is left out of the conversation. You're never gonna get like, you know, it's just infuriating. So I can absolutely relate to that frustration and can appreciate the movie, even though ultimately it wasn't for me. Yeah, another Mr. Lizard says recency bias. Dune was last March. Fair. Chris says, I think it'll be like Return of the King and they'll nominate Denis for the third film. Yep, I think there's a lot of talk about that. Kind of similarly to perhaps Wicked will finally have its moment with For Good. Which, again, we've talked about it a lot, but like there's a lot of potential in the second half of the Wicked story to write and have some really remarkable acting and character depth. There's a lot that can be mined there. So if they do, and they make those choices, I do think that there's a chance that Wicked could potentially clean up next year at the Oscars. Who knows? Yeah, and I like the Blade Runner sequel as well. It's CSH for sure. Mira says, I really like Enemy. Nicholas says, the fact they're going their own way for the third film just makes me wonder if that opportunity will go by the wayside if it doesn't work. No, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. Like, yeah, because I remember Denny saying that he doesn't really think of what he plans to do with the third movie as a trilogy. Let's see if I can find that quote. Dune 3. What does he have to say about this? Oops. So, aiming to shoot this summer. Okay. Pre-production. What do we expect? Let's see. I'm going to share this article. Present. Share screen. Okay. 1 second. Oops. Nope. There we go. Okay. Rumor Dune Messiah to start filming much sooner than expected. Okay. His might delay Dune Messiah in favor of working on another sci-fi project, possibly his long-planned adaptation of the ambitious Rendezvous with Rama. While it was later announced that production on Messiah would be moved up, filming was still not expected until begin late next year. However, in a new report from Deadline, has stirred excitement by suggesting that Villeneuve would now begin filming as early as June 2025. according to the journalist who attended the BAFTA pre-party hosted by Charles Vince. A source whispered Denis Villeneuve will start filming Dune Messiah this June and not in 2026. This is news to both ears. Let's see. Yes, of course, Zendaya has a very ambitious schedule for 2025, including Spider-Man 4 and the latest Christopher Nolan epic, of course. Um, hmm. Oh, interesting. And Villeneuve has hinted that Florence Pugh's Princess Irulan and Anya Taylor-Joy's Alia um, will both play a larger role in the third installment, so it's possible they will start filming with a partial cast and Zendaya will join in 26. While fans, let's see, interesting. I mean, trying to find the article where he talks about, hey, Ronan. Yeah, that's right. I just heard a very weird sound. She's filming, that's right, Euphoria. That's right. What is Rufus getting into in there, huh? Rufus is getting out of control. Brian says Dune Messiah will be way more character driven. Hi, Ronan. Let's see. Hi, Film Forever. Film. Let's see. Shouting out all we imagine as light deserved Oscar attention, but due to the rules and India not supporting the film, it wasn't going to happen. I take your word for it. I have not seen that one. ZSH says, speaking of Wicked, I'm still haunted by the visual of Cynthia Erivo hiding behind Taylor Swift at this year's Grammys. Yeah, she's having fun. They're having fun. Anyway, I watched Dune. I'm glad I watched it. I was a little disappointed, but hey, that's just me. So wait a minute, chat. I'm trying to find the article here. I haven't. What can we expect from Dune Messiah? I don't need the AI overview. Thank you. I want to know about the movie. None of these feel like, oh, okay. What does the wrap have to say? Let's do a little investigative journalism here. Okay, so while Dune Part 2 completes filmmaker Denis Villeneuve's adaptation of the Frank Herbert seminal, okay, yes, we know, the film ends very much like Dune, like Part 1 did, on a striking cliffhanger. There will be a time jump. Okay. Oh. Dune Messiah takes place 12 years after the events of Dune, and Villeneuve, he says he intends to take advantage of the time jump to age up his characters. Okay. We know he was having visions of the future. Oh, hi, Kristen Bell. Thank you so much for joining us. They say here that there are no spoilies. We won't spoil it here, but there's a plot point in Dune Messiah that would involve the resurrection of a certain character who died in the first two Dune movies. Beyond that, expect Chalamet, Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson, Florence Pugh, and Josh Brolin to return. Well, I'm definitely ready for there to be some, some changes, some evolutions. The screenplay's in progress. I'm very happy where it's going, but it's not finished. And I don't know how healthy it'll be to go straight into Messiah right away. It would be healthy to do something in between, but now we're hearing rumors that maybe that won't happen. Okay. And Villeneuve made changes to Part 2, informed by Messiah. Let's see what this is. One of the biggest changes from the source material is in the character of, now Chani, I think I'm saying that right. There's a astrologer that I follow, and her name is spelled the same way, but it is pronounced Chani. So of course, every time They said her name last night. My brain could not do it. In the book, she is a believer in Paul and has a little friction with his quest for revenge. But in the film, she stands as a harbinger of the darkness that comes with Paul embracing his role as a Messiah, openly questioning his command. Oh. When Frank Herbert wrote Dune and when the book came out, he felt that the readers misunderstood him, Villeneuve told the AV Club. People saw Dune as a celebration of Paul Atreides, but for him, he wanted the book to be a warning regarding messianic figures. To that end, where Dune Part 2 leaves Chani at the end of the film is pretty significant. Understood. All right. Well, interesting. Think that Dune Messiah will be more of a political thriller. Chris says, assuming there will be a time jump with Anya Taylor-Joy. Yes, for sure. Agreed. Fun fact, the reason I'm pronouncing her name Anya is because I met her lawyer one time, randomly, and he didn't correct me, but he was pronouncing her name Anya. And I was like, "Oh, is it Anya? I always thought it was Anya." And he's like, "It's Anya." And I was like, "Okay, good to know." So we've all learned something today. All right. Well, I'm definitely curious and here for it. I loved Rebecca Ferguson's character. Now, here's a question for you, chat. Have you watched Dune Prophecy, the show on HBO Max? Because I gotta say, I really liked the spicy energy. Oh, spice, no pun intended. But I really enjoyed like the friction between the Bene Gesserit and last night when I was watching the movie. So I was like, oh, maybe I actually should watch Prophecy. But have you all watched it? Like, what do we think? Ooh, Mirror Domain says in the books, people start turning into worms. OMG. That's really interesting that they turn into worms. Rufus. Rufus. Stop. Ronan says, I saw the first episode. It's 4 episodes of Dune Prophecy, and I really dug what I saw from the show. Okay. I might need to give that a watch. I think that would be really cool. I love all of these like witchy ladies. That's really fun. Trying to think if I read or watched anything else since I've seen you last, but I don't think so. Oh, well, one thing I did do is I started Carl Urban's movie Dredd. Ever heard of it? I'm joking. Of course you have. So I've never watched Dredd from start to finish. And I was watching the movie, I started it, and then I noticed that the title, when like the movie title at the beginning comes up and it says Dredd and then it explodes like that. I was like, was this a 3D movie? And guess what, y'all? Of course it was. So of course I call up Hector or I text Hector and I'm like, hey, do you have this in 3D? And he was like, I sure don't. And I said, it's $8 on Amazon. I am buying this for you. So it came today. I bought it for Hector's collection. We are definitely going to watch it in 3D. I stopped the movie. Like, I was like, nope, I'm experiencing this in 3D. That is what we are doing. So I will report back on Dredd. Yes, wonderful. I'm assuming that this is a quote from the movie, and if it's not, it should be. So yeah, Brian says Dredd is so good. Dredd. Oops, Dredd. Yeah, Carl Urban's great, huh? Love Dredd. Anyone else check out The Gorge? We were talking about it very briefly on the Tuesday's show. I still don't have Apple TV Plus, and you know what, y'all? I'm not gonna get it. I had it. Whatever. I don't need it, but I'm sure The Gorge is very good. Let's see. I've heard Dredd in 3D is great. Ooh, and Nicholas says, even though I haven't seen it, I found the 3D version at a swap meet. Oh, cool. And bought it for less than $5. Amazing. Oh, Ronan says Alex Garland wrote the script for Dredd. How did I miss that? That's really cool. Yeah, so that's the latest. That's what I tried to watch the other night. I tried to watch it the other night, and then I went, nope, we're going to wait. And oh, another thing that we're doing. Ooh, this could be fun to share with you all. Maybe we can like kind of talk about it in Discord or on the show. But y'all, I've never seen every single Mission Impossible movie. I've never seen Mission Impossible 3. I've never seen Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol from wait, what's the one with where Henry Cavill does his arms and has his mustache? I started that one. I went to the theater, a screening to see it, and I didn't feel good, so I left. Never finished it. So Hector and I, much like we did for the Fast and Furious movies, which I had never seen a Fast and Furious until Fast X came out. So I was like, if anyone will, oh, thank you, Gishgali. That's right, Fallout. So I was like, if anybody will go on this journey with me, watching every single one, uh, it will be Hector. And sure enough, he did. We watched every single one a week, including Hobbs and Shaw, leading up to Fast X, and it was very fun. So we're gonna do the same thing for Mission Impossible. I saw Mission Impossible, the Brian De Palma film, like many, many years ago when it first came out. I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that I've seen John Woo's Mission Impossible 2 the most. Never seen 3, didn't see 4. Really enjoyed Rogue Nation. Very much like Rogue Nation. And then I didn't see Dead Reckoning. So I got so many movies to watch. So I'll report back on the show and in Discord. Mirror says that MI3 is the best one, maybe the only J.J. Abrams movie worth watching. That's a hot take. That's a hot take. I do know that people love Philip Seymour Hoffman in that movie too. I've seen them all except Fallout. I forget. Yeah, Fallout has Henry Cavill. After Rise of Sky, that's fair. Another Mr. Lizard has seen all of them in the cinema. I love that. Ronan's favorites are Rogue Nation, Ghost Protocol, MI3, and the original. Okay. Nicholas says the only one I don't like is the second one after the spectacular opening. It just feels like true overkill. That's fair. Oh, hi there, Lahauser. I feel the same way about Mission Impossible series as I do about Fast and Furious. I love the early ones, but the later ones feel the same and blend together. That's fair, you know. I watched them all like with the Fast. It's funny that you say you think about them the same way because that's how I. That's how I. These are the two series that we're doing like from start to finish. But you're right in a way. I agree with you that like with Fast and Furious, the final ones, they really do all kind of blend together. But those middle ones where the franchise kind of is figuring out a Fast and Furious and kind of is figuring out what it is. Like I think 6, 7, and 8 were my favorites of the Fast and Furious movies. It just felt like they finally, and I loved Hobbs and Shaw. As just a fun little adventure. I loved, one character that like if the joke obviously is in the Fast and Furious movies that like no one's ever really dead. Where is Idris Elba? To me, that was like one of the best villains and one of the best performances and characters. Like just such a fascinating character. I know Idris he was a villain in Hobbs and Shaw, but still, that's the universe, the Fast and Furious universe. I really liked him. I wanted more. Admittedly, I love Idris Elba, but also great villain. Really great villain. ZSH says, I thought the last few Mission Impossible movies were surprisingly great. Christopher McQuarrie, I mean, like, has become, first of all, he and Tom Cruise clearly have a really great working relationship. They both agree, I think, on what those movies should be and what they're interested in doing as filmmakers. But Christopher McQuarrie, like, after writing some incredible movies and then becoming a director, like, really, really great director. I agree. I really like his work for sure. And another Mr. Lizard says the latter do seem based around what skill Tiny Tom wants to learn to do that year. Halo jumps, helicopter stunts, riding off mountains. Yeah, I think that's true. Miradovi, who just made fun of Hobbs and Shaw. Oh yeah, Hard Eyes. Yeah. But you heard, I mean, you heard Michael on Tuesday. He was saying how much he loves action movies, which, so we tease the things, that we love. Ronan says Tokyo Drift, I dig the most. Steven says, I think Angela Bassett is coming back. Wait, is coming back for the next Mission Impossible. Love Angela Bassett. And I love her in an action movie. So yes, Hector and I are working on our dates. Maybe what we should do is Hector should definitely come on the show. I think he would be a really fun guest to have to talk about fandom and such things. Okay. Let's get to our news. There's a lot of news today. So let's kick it off. Suggested in the Discord by Mike Joyce. Big news. Holy cow. The Broccolis have given over control to Amazon for James Bond. Oh, good. Ronan says, yes, have Hector on the show. I would love to be on Heroes Reforged. What we should do is we should do a little swap. We should do a little convo swap. Nicholas says Angela Bassett is great in action flicks. She's fantastic in Strange Days. She is oh my God, just what a stunner of a lady. ZSH says, I definitely know Hector, but I can't remember exactly where. He did a lot of work for Nerdist. He did the Nerdist Book Club. He was obviously a co-host on DC Daily with me. That was super fun. He's done a lot of work for Geek and Sundry. He and Augustine and Adam Klavick all do Heroes Reforged. I love those guys. I don't know Augustine but I know Adam. I had Adam on my Fear HQ show and really, really like him. And we're both horror fans. Hector was I think Hector played in the Schmodown like 1 or 2 matches. He never really got deep into it. I think he was only in it for like 1 or 2, I think. I think everybody has played a Schmodown match at some point. But okay, let's get into it. James Bond, shocker. Amazon, MGM gains control, creative control, very important distinction, of 007 franchise as producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson step back. Now, hey, Sam. Okay, I was like literally just about to say these words, so thank you very much. I wanted to give a little context, even though I am not like the biggest Bond, fan in the world. If you know anything about film and like especially film now, the Broccoli family, like they have really, really held the reins on the James Bond franchise, and they are not going anywhere. Like up until this point, basically. And Sam puts it perfectly. I never thought I would see the Broccolis give up the rights to Bond. I mean, nobody did. They Alan Smithy says Broccoli gets old too. This is true. Oh, I don't know. Was he, Brian? I remember Inner Geekdom. I remember Mara, Mike Kalinowski, Rachel, obviously, but I don't know. We'll have to get back to them. Okay. Another Mr. Lizard says they boxed themselves into a corner killing Bond and probably had no idea how to resurrect it and make it make sense. I mean, this is my thing. Well, and also, by the way, Hector was champion. How do I not know that? All right, we gotta have Hector on. We gotta talk about this. Y'all are so much more. You have such recall. Honestly, all of my Schmodown days are pretty much a blur. Like truly, I remember very little from that time. Hi, Julio. Great to see you. Okay, and Sam says, I remember Hector and Inner Geekdom. What was I thinking about? I don't know. Now, Steven, you're getting to the heart of my question too. Why wouldn't you just reboot it with a new Bond, all new stories like they've done in the past? So it's kind of like, I agree. This is what I don't understand. What is there to be in a corner about? Audiences get a new Batman every 3 years. They're going to be fine getting a new James Bond. It's not that big of a deal. I will say though, the Broccolis did appear to be a little old fashioned. Like for instance, there was a moment when, Idris Elba, speaking of, was like, there was a fan sort of like, hey, wouldn't it be great? Like, he's so great in Luther. He's like the right age, not too young, but not too old. Like, what about Idris Elba? And the Broccoli's a bit conservative, bit old fashioned. I was like, no. And you're like, ugh, okay. I mean, so, and then certainly there were talks for a while about like many years ago, if you can remember a time when it looked like Tom Hiddleston was going to be the new Bond. And then I have a theory. He started too publicly getting involved with our girl Tay. And I think that cost him the job. Just wasn't a good look. And then there were rumors, of course, for the last couple of months that Aaron Taylor Johnson was going to be the new Bond. And then I heard on a podcast, Dumois. I don't know if y'all listen to it. It's more of a gossip podcast, but on Dumois, she read a little insider tip that was like, Aaron Taylor Johnson seems to think he's going to be the new Bond, but he's not. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, there you go. I think he'd be a good choice too. Don't get me wrong. And it doesn't look like he's going to be, doesn't look like they're going to be any more Craven movies. So he could use a franchise, but let's, hi, Stephanie. Good. Yes. I love that we have mentioned Hector and we would love him as a guest. I love that. Oh my God. Matt Berry should be Bond. I would not be mad at that. I would not be bad at that at all. Let's see. What else does chat say? CSH says, based on what I've been reading, it sounds like they didn't have and couldn't find a great vision for the future of the Bond character. And Mirror says, I always looked at each actor who played Bond as Bond in their own universe. Like Daniel Craig is detached from the events in Brosnan's films. Agreed. That's how I always thought about it too. And I mean, off the top of my head, Julio, I don't know. I'd have to think. I'm sure there are, but let's see. I'm holding those on Idris, like George Lazenby. Sam says there's been so many fan cast over the years. Henry Cavill, Henry Golding. Oh my God, Henry Golding. I love that. Reggie Jean Page, and now I'm hearing Harris Dickinson. Yeah, and Idris was another big fan cast. Another Mr. Lizard says it wasn't really a reboot until Craig. You have Roger Moore visiting the grave of George Lazenby's wife from, that's on Her Majesty's Secret Service. And the whole thing about Brosnan being a Cold War relic. Well, oh my God, and get George Miller to direct. I mean, that would be wild. Yes, The Vast of Night was an Amazon movie. That is correct. Okay, let's read some specifics and see what Variety has to say. The shock announcement, which is sure to shake and indeed stir the industry, was made Thursday alongside the news that the longtime producers and custodians of 007, Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli, would be stepping back. As per the details of the historic agreement, Amazon MGM Studios, Wilson and Broccoli have formed a new joint venture to house the James Bond intellectual property rights. The three parties will remain co-owners of the iconic franchise, but Amazon MGM will have creative control. Since his theatrical introduction over 60 years ago, James Bond has been one of the most iconic characters in filmed entertainment. Yes, we know. We are aware. We are grateful to the late Albert J.R. Broccoli and Harry Salzman for bringing James Bond to movie theaters around the world, and to Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli for their unyielding dedication and their role in continuing the legacy of the franchise that is cherished by legions of fans worldwide. We are honored to continue this treasured heritage and look forward to ushering in the next phase of the legendary 007 for audiences around the world. And so added Wilson, with my 007 career spanning nearly 60 incredible years, I'm stepping back from producing the James Bond films to focus on art and charitable projects. Therefore, Barbara and I agree. It is time for our trusted partner, Amazon MGM Studios, to lead James Bond into the future. Kind of hilarious that their the James Bond franchise is to be owned by a James Bond villain for all intents and purposes. I can't be the first one to make that joke, but who can say? Okay. Um yeah, in 2022, Amazon bought MGM for $8.5 billion, acquiring a vast catalog with more than 4,000 films and 17,000 TV shows alongside the rights to distribute all of the James Bond films. No Time to Die, the 25th James Bond film, and Daniel Craig's fifth and final turn as 007 was released in 2021 and earned $775 million. Since then, despite endless speculation in the press, there have been no announcements regarding the timeline for production of the next film or Craig's replacement. So, I mean, that's kind of it. Brian says, I personally don't have a problem with Amazon taking over Bond. This is a big IP for them. I think they'll aim for a big name director. Sam says, the main concern for Amazon that I'm hearing is that they might make unnecessary series set in the universe, like a Q prequel. Yes. So this is the thing, I think, from a fandom perspective. Why do you not want a giant corporation in charge of James Bond? Well, giant corporations don't have any interest in making good movies. I mean, like, I'm sorry. I shouldn't make that such a broad stroke statement, but like I do think that as far as major franchises go, James Bond is one that has been handled with a lot of care, especially since in the Daniel Craig era. It felt like those movies really attempted to be cutting edge films, bringing in some of the best directors working, telling mature stories that are still fan satisfying, of course, but like they are decidedly less goofy than the older Bond movies. I did like a crash course in Bond when I co-hosted an IMDb special during COVID, getting ready for No Time to Die. Is No Time to Die, or was it? I can't remember. 22. Yeah, because yeah. Anyway, and yeah, I think that they had been very of their time, and the Craig era, I think, opened up the franchise to be a little more sophisticated, but still action packed, and still you get your gadgets and traveling over the world, and you get the love, and you get the Bond girls, and you get the whole thing. And so I just don't see Amazon MGM creatively handling that franchise with any kind of care. I just see it as because they don't care about movies. I think that's just like we had this conversation a couple weeks ago about like David Zaslav, like he's in charge of all this iconic IP that he could not care less about. And it is just like so obvious that he does not care. And so I understand that show business is a business. Like nobody needs to, come at me with that. But like, what do they care? So I don't know. Let's see what chat has to say. Another Mr. Lizard says that's why they'll milk Bond for all it's worth. Steven says Halle Berry is forever my favorite Bond girl. When she comes out of the ocean was iconic. Bronson had iconic Bond girls with Halle and Michelle Yeoh. I think Pierce Brosnan was a good James Bond. I liked him as James Bond. Just a different vibe than Craig. Both are good. Stephanie says, excuse me, maybe we'll get lucky and they will hire a director who does care. Maybe. Jinx. Another Mr. Lizard says it's like the new Reacher series that came out on Amazon today. Here, at least, he's barely advertised, unlike the Rings of Power that was everywhere. Now, that I do think this is a really good point, another Mr. Lizard. So I know a ton of people who really, really like the Jack Reacher series. Of course, friends and fans of DC Daily will remember our dearly beloved Alan Richson as Hawk. Um, but a lot of fans love that show. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit the camera. Sorry, y'all. A lot of fans love that show. A lot of fans are happy with the direction that show is going. It sounds like, I don't know, but it also seems like, it is what it is. I don't know. And like any project, it depends on the team being behind the scenes. With that being said, get ready for 5 spinoffs. Exactly. ZSH says, maybe more importantly, does the modern audience even want more Bond? As an older guy, I'll watch Bond, but most younger people I know don't seem like they really care about Bond. And Brian sees Reacher ads everywhere. I mean, they could give control to Christopher Nolan for Bond because the Broccoli's refused to do that. This is the question, like, does Amazon really want to play with, like, I keep thinking back to last year, the Doug Liman Roadhouse situation. Like, Amazon really said, we don't care. We're not putting this in the theater. And he was like, you really should put this in the theater. And my contract says, and blah, blah, blah. And there was this whole back and forth. But, it's kind of like with, what were we? Oh, we were talking a couple weeks ago about Scarlett Johansson and WB, excuse me, not WB, Disney, and Scarlett Johansson kind of suing and saying, like, hey, you can't put you have to give us a theatrical release. And certainly a lot of folks at Warner Brothers had similar concerns during COVID. It was a different time, obviously, but this is all to say that, like, I don't know, does Amazon MGM have an interest in a big theatrical movie? Another Mr. Lizard points out, $755 million for No Time to Die. It still makes money. This is true. That was also, though, like, billed as the final installment. This is the end of Daniel Craig's James Bond. So if you've seen him be Bond at any point, then, you will, then this is like him saying goodbye. So I don't know. I'm disappointed in this. This feels like another, and look, again, we've talked about it, but it's not like the Broccoli family was infallible. Like Mira pointed out, they refused to give Christopher Nolan control, right? And Christopher Nolan at that time, like, still one of the best, filmmakers working today. And they couldn't even, and English too. It's not even like, so it's like, why, if you're not going to see the forest for the trees, clearly they had limited vision, right? But I don't know. I just don't know. Alan Smithy says, if Nolan does it, should it be a period piece set in the past? I think Ethan Hunt and Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt is like is a good modern day iteration of Bond, of a super spy. I think if you're gonna do Bond, it would be really awesome to have it set in the 60s, cool cars, like gadgets that, I don't know. What do I need to see? Everything's AI, like James Bond is using AI to figure out, solve problems. Like, I don't know. It feels a little cynical, but I'm like, I don't want to see a spy of today. Just feels weirdly depressing. Brian says, which direction should the Bond franchise go? Gritty and grounded, big action movie, fantastical, copy the John Wick franchise. I mean, I think that there is an element of traditional filmmaking to Bond. Like, set it in the past, let it be sexy. Like, Mission Impossible is not sexy. There's no allure, there's no romance. It's just like, I don't know. I know that there was a female character, of course, but or female romantic interest, but that's not the central focus here. Bond is sexy. It's a sexy franchise. So I think you can have fun with it. I think you can, but I think you can also make it grounded. It doesn't necessarily have to be quippy, but yeah, but like, yes, agreed, Steven. But there's also part of, I don't know, like, setting, I don't know. I don't know. Who can say, y'all? Well, I guess we'll just find out. Yeah, like Steven says, oh, love the idea of 60s sort of retro futuristic. That's the kind of vibe that I'm getting. Is like we know what 50 years later looks like. They don't know what 50 years later looks like. Let's play in that sandbox. Also just the costumes are so cool and like we've got plenty of spy action series and movies that are set today. Like let's go international, speaking from an American perspective, of course. But like let's take it back to London and then spend some time in Europe and Asia and like all over the world. I don't know. Who can say? Oh, CSH says, I'll admit it now. The hill I know I'm dying on is Lucas and Spielberg famously making Indiana Jones as America's Bond. Pitch, James Bond fights a tech bro from South Africa. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. All right, let's move on to our next story. Unless you all have anything else to say about James Bond. Any final thoughts you'd like to share? Because I want to talk about Clown in the Cornfield. Have any of you all read this book? I've read the first two, and I started the third one. These are really fun books, series of books called Clown in the Cornfield, in a Cornfield by Adam Cesar. Really sweet guy, fun follow on Instagram, like an ultimate horror guy. He spoke to my book club. We read Clown in the Cornfield, in a Cornfield, and my book club. He spoke to us. I stuck with the franchise of books for a minute, and now this is being adapted into a feature film premiering at South by Southwest, coming to theaters on May 9th. So we have a red band trailer for Clown in the Cornfield. And the killer clown is known as Friendo. So Friendo is our villain. This is well, let's watch the trailer and then I'll give you my reactions because honestly, I haven't watched this trailer. So I'm very curious. Okay, let's see. Let's watch it.
It's time to sweeten the day with the marvel of Bay Pen brand corn syrup. That's right. A little drop of Bay Pen makes everything better. Just take it from Friendo.
Hey, check it out. It's Friendo.
Everyone's favorite clown. Now, tell me, folks, are you a friend of Friendo? I know I am.
What the fuck?
We're gonna die.
Oh, yes. Great bit. Great bit.
And remember, kids,
Never fuck with Friendo.
Fun. Really fun. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about what I know about this book. So, because I've read it. It's, well, and let's read the synopsis actually. Let's just read the synopsis. Hold on. What's happening? Oh my, come on. What do we think of that trailer? I think that's a fun little teaser. I'm really curious to hear about the feedback after the South by screening. I think that's going to be a really popular And that's going to be it's going to go down real nicely. Okay, here we go. So let's read the synopsis. Here's the new plot synopsis. Quinn and her father have just moved to the quiet town of Kettle Springs, hoping for a fresh start. Instead, she discovers a fractured community that has fallen on hard times after the treasured Bay Pen corn syrup factory burned down. As the locals bicker amongst themselves and tensions boil over, a sinister grinning figure emerges from the cornfield to cleanse the town of its burdens, one bloody victim at a time. Welcome to Kettle Springs. The real fun starts when Frendo the Clown comes out to play. The Clown in the Cornfield movie is said to be a harrowing, savage, heart-pounding adaptation, with director Eli Craig promising an insanely fun action horror comedy. And the most recent book, The Church of Frendo, released last year with a fourth book on the way. Oh my, a fourth book on the way. My. So I really, I like this first one a lot. The first one definitely feels like the first book, at least, is considered a YA book, which I think is really interesting because if you read these books, like, they are super violent. They are slasher books, like, no question. Like, so whether they're known as, YA or they're classified as YA or not, they don't pull any punches. Adam Cesar is he's a real horror fan. He knows his movies. He knows the whole world. So like he certainly doesn't pull any punches. I also think, the imagery is really cool. This is a good, I think, first look. I do think that it would have been like a little helpful for them to give us a trailer that actually explained what the heck was going on, as opposed to like a person in a clown suit, like killing teens or killing people in the cornfield. But it's a really good first look, and it does kind of show you like, okay, this is going to be like a real slasher movie. Yes, his jaunty little hat. Little friendo. Let's see. Brian says, I knew about it, never actually read the book. Art the Clown versus Frendo versus Pennywise at WrestleMania. Oh, now you're talking. Yes, so true. Another Mr. Lizard seems fine enough and looks like it'll make good mask money at Spirit Halloween. And yes, that was Kevin Durand. So you love to see it. Efosa, phobia of clowns activated. Yes, certainly preying on that for sure. Playing on that. Yeah, I think that this is, I don't want to like give anything away because I don't know what exact, like, again, this is a pretty small plot synopsis. So like, I'm curious to see a second trailer, but I do think based on the first two books that I have read, they will make good fodder for a horror franchise, ? For sure. Speaking of though, let's watch the Osgood Perkins bit. That sounds really fun. An important message from Oz Perkins. I think I pulled the wrong one, but that's still fun. I'm glad he's telling us. What was it called again? Oh, thanks, King. Yes, it is new. 'Tis new. Yes, and also the director of Tucker and Dale versus Evil. That's right, directed Cloud in a Cornfield. So it's definitely going to be fun. Oh, I'm not sharing anything. Thank you, another Mr. Lizard. Well, I shared the wrong thing anyway. What was it called? What was the piece called? Where he kind of like does a Hitchcock thing. And you're right. I should have. I got it wrong. I didn't share. Remind me the name of the video. Mr. Perkins has a message for you is the title. Okay. Weird. I don't know why I can't find it. Interesting. I'm sharing it now. I don't know. I can't find it. Is it on YouTube, Nicholas? Anyway, yes. Clown in a Cornfield, director of Tucker and Dale. Definitely horror, fun, horror, comedy, very splatter filled. Clarke, what were your thoughts on Companion and a possible sequel? I really liked Companion. I hated Jack Quaid by the end. Yeah, really enjoyed Companion. I thought it was surprisingly really funny. I was not expecting it to be as funny as it was. I think it's an awesome script. Like, I think it's just like it's so well structured and doesn't overstay its welcome. That the performances were great. I really liked Companion. I really liked it. When Michael Kennedy was on the show on Tuesday, Hard Eyes came out 2 weekends ago and had a better weekend last weekend, Valentine's Day weekend, than the one before. And we were talking about how Companion just like kind of fizzled, and now it's coming to VOD and it's leaving theaters so quickly. And it's really disappointing, I think, because Companion is a really fun watch. My theater was pretty full when I saw it. And it's original, so I think it was a drag that it kind of like, and I think a sequel is absolutely plausible. And I liked the way that they handled the robots. Okay, a few words. Here it is. Okay. Thank you so much, Nicholas. Okay, here we go. Mr. Perkins would like to say a few words to you.
Oh. Hello there. Perhaps you know me as Osgood Perkins, writer and director of a movie called Longlegs. Don't mind him, he's just resting. I'd like to talk to you about my next motion picture, a fiendishly clever tale called The Monkey, based on the short story by Stephen King.
Okay, so for those of you who may or may not know, Osgood Perkins is the son of Anthony Perkins, who played Norman Bates in Psycho. And famously, Psycho's trailer was of Alfred Hitchcock walking through the house at the Bates Motel, explaining who Norma Bates was. And so this is 100% supposed to be inspired by Psycho and Hitchcock.
Our protagonist, Hal Shelbourne, is something of an unlucky stiff. Despite his best intentions, everyone around him has a nasty habit of, dying. One after another, after another, after another. There are decapitations and eviscerations, electrocutions and impalements, a disembowelment, an infestation, an immolation, a conflagration, an exsanguination, and a defenestration. In other words, there's a little something for everyone. Oh, which reminds me, the heart of the matter is a beloved childhood toy, namely, a monkey. You know the kind. You wind it up and the delightful thing comes to life, banging on its little drum. But, as it turns out, this amusing plaything has a mind of its own. A rather diabolical mind at that. But let's find out, shall we? Adorable fellow. And so lifelike, with his little red vest and whimsical smile. To make him come alive, all you need to do is turn the brass key in his back. For every cause, there's an effect, and no action is without consequence. Allow me to demonstrate. You simply turn the key and see what perhaps I shouldn't ruin the surprise. Better to let you see for yourself. Please join me for my new trip. It should prove to be fascinating. A veritable cornucopia of thrills and chills, a heartwarming tale of death and dismemberment. And if a good time is what you're after, you have my word, it's more fun than a barrel of, well...
Don't say it. Right.
Come on, baby, let the good time roll. Come on, baby, let me thrill your soul.
Fun. That was a good find, Nicholas. Thank you for sharing. That was really fun. Yeah. Ivosa says this reminds me of a Twilight Zone intro, of course. Stephanie, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it was a good one. That's a good one. I like that. I like that a lot. The movie's really fun. I know some folks in the chat when we were talking about it on Tuesday didn't love it. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was a great movie to watch with a crowd. It definitely knows exactly what it is and it has a good time with it. TSH says his Norman-like awkwardness, creepiness is genuinely making me emotional. Yeah, he's and Osgood Perkins began his career as an actor. He's famously in Legally Blonde and he's a great performer himself. So the monkey, hats off to Neon. They've done some great marketing, great advertising, much like they did with his movie Long Legs. Really, really fun. Really, really fun. Well, we were just talking about, I agree, David. David says they should do more trailers like that. I think that that's really fun. I mean, I think that that's something that you can really play around with, especially in the age of YouTube and Instagram. Like, run whatever kind of trailer you want to run before a movie, but whether it is on social media or it's on YouTube, you can really have a good time with those spots. Nicholas says, I saw this early this afternoon and I was like, Clarke would love this. Spot on. You nailed it, Nicholas. That's great. That's great. Perfect recommendation. And yes, Brian, I did see I didn't see it. I pulled it though. Should we watch it now? Should we just skip to this one? So for those of you who don't know, this is the new movie from the Talk to Me directors. And Talk to Me was truly one of, if not my favorite horror movie of the year it came out. I loved Talk to Me. I thought that cast was just fantastic. I thought the rules and the mythology that they had established was really fun. I just thought they knocked it out of the park in terms of it being their first feature. And so here we have the new teaser trailer for their latest called Bring Her Back. Also reteaming with A24. Danny and Michael Filippo are reteaming with A24. Yes. Great cast. The movie's coming on May 30th. Oh. Here's a brief synopsis. A brother and sister uncover a terrifying ritual at the secluded home of their new foster mother. So let's watch the teaser.
He could. He's gonna bring him back. He's gonna bring him back. Are you in there?
Wow. This is a great teaser. That is so creepy and very weird. Leave the cat alone. I know. Oh, King did not like Talk to Me. It reminded me of It Follows and how bored I was. Interesting. Very interesting. Well, I loved Talk to Me, but I loved that. I like supernatural. Excuse me. I like supernatural stuff as well. I didn't love What's. I didn't love hold on a second. I didn't love It Follows, but no, stop. Hold on. I want to read what they have here. Oh, nothing. They have nothing. Okay, got it. Let's see. What does Bloody Disgusting have to say? Talk to Me was a huge hit for A24, the film scaring up $92 million at the worldwide box office. This was in 2022. And earned the brothers rave reviews for their feature debut. They will return to direct Talk to Me 2 for A24. The Australian duo got their start with the popular YouTube channel Raka Raka, launched back in 2013. Whoa, wait a minute. Bring her back. Wait a minute. What does this mean? They already shot a Talk to Me prequel. Let's go on a little rabbit hole for a second. I feel like I remember this, but I don't really. Oh, yes. Based on the film's opening sequence. So, in a chat with the Hollywood Reporter about all things Talk to Me, the brothers reveal they've already filmed some kind of prequel to the events of Talk to Me. More specifically, they thought they shot something that fleshes out the story of Duckett, previous victim, right in the opening scene. He explains, we actually shot an entire Duckett prequel already. It's told entirely through the perspective of mobile phones and social media. So maybe down the line, we can release that. It's likely that they're describing some kind of short rather than another feature. That's so interesting. I wonder if they ended up like putting it out on the Blu-ray. Also, while writing the first film, you can't help but write the scenes for a second film. So there's so many scenes. The mythology was so thick. And yeah, if A24 gave us the opportunity, we wouldn't be able to resist. I feel like we would jump at it. We have a lot of original stories that we want to tell, but the Talk to Me stuff is exciting to us too. So the idea of a sequel, we wouldn't be opposed to it. Fun. I loved it. Leave the modern day Frankenstein story sounds like the film Searching. Yeah, definitely using like a found footage sort of angle. Yeah, for sure. Great. That was a good teaser. I liked that teaser a lot. Let's see. So, question. Oh no, I just closed the Hancock story. Rats. Did you guys know about this or care about this at all in terms of Daniel Craig and DC's war movie Sergeant Rock from Luca Guadagnino? I don't know how I missed this. I actually really am not familiar with this character in the DC universe. So I guess it was not on my radar, but it looks like he's dropped out of consideration for the title role in Sergeant Rock, the DC Comics adaptation from Craig's queer director, Luca Guadagnino, and screenwriter. Let's see, news of Craig's possible involvement first broke in November, but a source with knowledge of the project notes that the actor never formally committed to making it. A rep for DC Studios declined to comment. The character, who debuted in 1959, isn't a classical superhero. Rather, he's a non-commissioned officer in the U.S. Army who leads his unit, Easy Company, through the European theater of World War II, though he does eventually become chief of staff for Lex Luthor. Oh, how interesting. DC Studios co-chiefs James Gunn and Peter Safran are said to be excited about the film as a straightforward war picture and see it as a chance to demonstrate the wide breadth of content they intend to make under the DC banner. They're already seeking another actor for the title role. So this seems like it's a big priority for them. Does it sound a little bit to you all like Joker? I don't think we were having this conversation in chat on the show the other day, but I was having this conversation elsewhere. Maybe. But we were talking about how, like, it's such a bummer that if you want to make a movie like, let's say, Todd Phillips' Joker, you can't just make Todd Phillips' Joker. You have to attach it to some sort of IP. So if he wants to make a dark comedy about, society kind of letting people fall by the wayside in the vein of 1970s Martin Scorsese, he can't just make that movie. He's got to tie it to the Joker, right? And so on and so on. So it sounds to me like this is something where James and Peter are like, maybe not something similar, but kind of similar, where it's like, no, you can make a straight war movie within the DC universe under the DC banner. Kind of reminds me too of how like Captain America Winter Soldier is just like an incredible espionage thriller, but you can't just make that movie without the MCU, right? You have to make it with IP attached. So it sounds to me like this is a pretty big priority, even though I don't really know these characters very much. And the fact that Luca Guadagnino wants to make like a DC Comics movie is also fascinating to me. But what say you, chat? Let's see. Hi, Slimer. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a bit. I did not even know that was a thing to start with. Oh, interesting. Alan Smithy says Jeremy Allen White might play Rock instead. Not all people, a lot of people are familiar with Sergeant Rock. Steven says, I've heard the name. I think they should look at Glenn Powell. Ooh, that's cool. Very interesting. Slimer says, not familiar at all, but interested in them trying something new. David, I thought Daniel Craig was a bit too old for the role. I think Alan Ritchson from Reacher would be great for the role, who has also played Hawk in the DC universe. But we know that that doesn't matter anymore. What's his superpower? Yeah, like it doesn't sound like he's a superhero. Sounds just like he is a character in the DC universe. Oh yeah, that's fun, Steven. I like that. I remember years and years ago, it was almost an Arnie movie. Oh, wait, should we do a little deep dive? Hold on. Let's do a quick deep dive. Sergeant Rock DC. Let's read a little. Gosh, as soon as, who said it? Who said Glenn Powell? Brian. As soon as you said that, I was like, there it is. That's it. I mean, I don't even know anything about this character, and it's Glenn Powell for sure. Let's see. Fictional character appearing in American comic books published by DC. Character is a World War II soldier who served as an infantry non-commissioned officer. Rock's prototype first appeared in GI Combat. Okay. Gained popularity in the 1977. The name of the comic was changed to Sergeant Rock. The comic ran until July 1988. Wow. In addition to the semi-regular comic, some were... So it doesn't seem like he's a superhero. Huh. Power. Oh, okay. Here we go. Powers and abilities. Rock is a crack shot, able to shoot down several German fighter planes with a single submachine gun and able to throw hand grenades with amazing accuracy. He's highly effective close combat fighter. Seems to have a superhero endurance and strength, surviving a large number of gunshot wounds, fragments from hand grenades, etc. Oh, and he has a combat antenna, what he calls his sixth sense to warn him of an impending enemy attack. With few exceptions, he maintains complete calm and determination under fire. And he also has a heart. The one thing that almost had him breaking down is when the Nazis scraped the very bottom of the barrel and were sending teenage boys out against Rock and his men. Oops. Or when he and his company were guarding a group of children who had to be evacuated from an orphanage and one died from a German bullet. Okay. This sounds cool. Very stylish. Very stylized. All right, here's what we were talking about earlier with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Here we go. In the late 80s and early 90s, Arnold Schwarzenegger was attached to play Sergeant Rock in a film produced by Joel Silver. Makes sense. Depicting Rock as German American before John Cox wrote a new screenplay unrelated to the previous drafts. When Schwarzenegger was no longer attached to star in the project in April 2007. The good news is we have a fantastic script and everybody's really happy with it. It's just really about finding okay. Bruce Willis was reportedly in consideration for the role and Guy Ritchie rumored to direct. However, in December 2008, Ritchie said that the film was shelved due to his work on Sherlock Holmes. He confirmed that Sergeant Rock would be set during World War II and include the Easy Company. In February 2010, Silver announced that the film would now be set in the near future. Francis Lawrence, who of course directed Constantine, which we talked about a lot on Tuesday's show, was later announced to be directing with Chad St. John writing the screenplay. There's been no development since. Sergeant Rock appears in DC Showcase, voiced by Carl Urban. Fun. Okay, so that's an interesting kind of like history. What say you, chat? Oh, Brian says, I'm thinking it will be an alternate history World War II movie with metahumans. Glenn Powell would be cool. Quentin Tarantino tried to make a Sergeant Rock movie. Oh man, oh my God, Army Hammer. Too late. He's already playing the Dark Knight in the UA Bowl movie. Gishgali says, I still have an Arnie Sergeant Rock pin from my first San Diego Comic-Con in 1987. It was one of 2 comic movies being pushed there. Wow, how cool. Sergeant Rock appeared in Creature Commandos. Oh, of course, that makes sense. Shane Black is reading a Sergeant Rock comic in Predator. Great reference. That's great. That's great. Oh my God. Army Hammer is Killer Croc. I love this casting. Predator. That's how I know the name. Yes. Great. Great. Yeah, I mean, this sounds really cool. And you know what? Look, one thing I will say is that James Gunn, mainstream-wise specifically, like, we did not know who the Guardians of the Galaxy were until James Gunn figured out the characters, made them into a movie that everyone could relate to and cheer for and loved. And now they are just a quintessential part of the MCU. So if anybody, I trust James's vision and the scope of what it is that he is after. And yeah, I think that's, so I think if James has faith in it and is committed to it, then I think that it sounds like it's in good hands. Luca Guadagnino as the director, though, is an interesting pairing. Not the director that I would have imagined. However, again, I don't think that James and Peter would trust, these things to people that they didn't have the utmost faith in. So, yeah, how fun. ZSH says, I was cut off in my last chat, but glad I was, because the real convo is much too complex and nuanced to have here in chat right now. Fair. We love people of all ages in our chat. All ages welcome. Steven says, this definitely wouldn't be a priority for DC characters. I would be focusing on when trying to set up a new universe for success. And King says, we'll see how Superman goes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm cautiously optimistic for all of the plans that James and Peter have for the DC cinematic universe. David says, do you think UA Bowl will change the title of his movie? No, I don't. I think he's trolling. I think they're trolling. They know what they're doing. People are talking about it. I think they're going to, unless there's like legal arbitration, but I don't think he's going to change it. He wants people to be confused and he wants people to talk about it. So mission accomplished. Oh yeah. I do want to watch this documentary. I do. I really, really do. And Slimer says very excited for Superman. Yeah. A lot of good stuff coming down the pipe, that's for sure. All right, so that's Sergeant Rock. What else do we have on our agenda? Actually, wait a minute. I remembered who put in chat. So I thought somebody put something in chat that I wanted to mention, but we'll get to it. Okay, we did bring her back. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so chat, I want your opinion on this. I was talking to some friends the other night, and a group of guys that I was really, Hancock too. That's what it was. Yes, let's do that. That's what I closed. That was the article that I closed, and I forgot to pull it back up again. Yes, let's do this. Let's do this. We got to do it. Will Smith teases, quote, really cool idea for Hancock 2 and says Zendaya is being approached for a role. I bet she is. I bet everybody is approaching Zendaya for a role. You know what I'm saying? She's the biggest movie star. Like, it's just such a funny thing. I mean, I know that's not what it meant. I know, but it's that joke that Brandon Winfrey used to tell. Actor says yes, they would consider part because they like work. But okay. Brian says the key for any comic book universe is putting spotlight on lesser known characters. Don't want to burn through the big name characters. Yep, Hancock has a daughter. Gishgali says, no offense, Slimer, but I hope you are not at my screening of Superman. You flying around would be very distracting. With a bunch of sausages in his mouth. Yep, Brandon, shout out. And Brian says, why is Will Smith lying? Well, it's funny because I just read another piece. I don't know why, but it was about Hitch 2. And the director had said oh yeah, Will's doing this movie without me. We didn't get along. He did not like me. I had a great take. I pitched it to the studio, but he's moving on. And so I had just read this whole thing about Hitch 2. And yeah, and then I saw this article and I was like, Will, what are we doing? I mean, as perfectly stated by another Mr. Lizard, Bad Boys sequels, I Am Legend 2, Hancock 2, What's Next, Hitch 2, and Pursuing More Happiness. Well, Hitch 2 is real, allegedly. Yeah, but okay. Shade aside, because I think it's okay to throw a little shade here. You know what I'm saying? This is goofy. This is very silly. King says Ali concussion crossover. Stop. Shame on you. Shame on you. That's really funny though. Wild Wild West 2 wouldn't do Independence Day 2 though. I'm sorry, but of all the sequels, and you say no to Independence Day 2. Oh, good gracious. I just don't even know. What are we doing? Okay. So let's talk about it. But okay, for realsies though, shade aside. Is now the time for Hancock? Seriously, post Suicide Squad, now we're getting the Thunderbolts, that post Doom Patrol on HBO, DC, whatever, The Boys, post The Boys. I mean, Hancock was the anti-superhero, right? Okay, great. It was in a lot of ways ahead of its time, I would argue. Fine. I remember thinking Hancock was fine. I didn't love it the way that other people loved it. But now it's like, what do we have to add to this conversation? You know what I mean? Hi, Jesus. Like, what do we have to add to the anti-hero hero conversation? I don't know. And side note, Jesus, I really wanted, I don't know if y'all remember, but with Men in Black, after 22 Jump Street, there was talk of Lord and Miller, Channing Tatum, and Jonah Hill doing a crossover with Men in Black. And Sony instead did Chris Hemsworth, Tessa Thompson, Men in Black. Was not successful. Okay, fine. If anything, right now, we've already missed the window for Independence Day 2. Fine. If anything, go team up with Lord and Miller. Bring Channing back. Bring Jonah back. Channing Tatum was talking in the last 6 months about another Jump Street movie. Please give us 23 Jump Street with aliens. Please. That is what we need. It would be so good. It would be so funny. And I feel like it would rehabilitate everyone involved, meaning Jonah Hill's nobody's favorite person right now. Like, after all that weird stuff with his girlfriend and his like weird press tour that he did for the movie with Eddie Murphy, it was just very strange. And, you know, Will Smith clearly is looking to revisit some fan favorites. Okay, great. I would love nothing more than for Lord and Miller to direct a live action movie again. Like, just really. And I love Men in Black. Men in Black 1 is truly one of my favorite movies from the 90s. It is so funny. It is so well done. Just like, I feel like now is the time. I really feel like now is the time. So, what does chat have to say? Mirror says, I don't want a comedy Men in Black. I want a real horror Men in Black about them abducting people. Well, yes. That is also a fun story to tell. The real Men in Black accounts are eerie. But yes, as King points out, Men in Black that we saw on the screen, I think is based on a comic. Brian says Men in Black Jump Street would have made $1 billion. I mean, right? The Jump Street movies are so good. I rewatch them like at least once a year. And it's just, gosh, I miss Lord and Miller. I know they're like killing it in the producing world. They're doing so well, but like I wish that they would direct a live action movie comedy again. Steven says, just stick Tatum in Men and Men in Black, he would do well. Slimer says that crossover would be great. Jesus says Men in Black, one of my favorite movies. Oh God, R.I.P.D. Yes, King, yes. Men in Black's about to become a true story. Yes, another Mr. Lizard. Brevity is the soul of wit. The first Men in Black was 90 minutes long and didn't overstay its welcome. Also, Tommy Lee Jones, just honestly, perfect pairing with Will Smith. Vincent D'Onofrio, so great, like great performance. Nicholas says, Men in Black was great. Too bad no sequel has been good. Agreed. Only the third came close, and International was at least better than the second, but that's not saying much. Yeah, totally. They lost the plot. They totally like lost what made that movie special. They lost what made it funny, truly. Anyway, thank you, David, for bringing us back to life. Let's get back to Hancock, but I just have to say, Will is trying to revisit all the wrong things. It's not the time. We don't need a Hancock movie. But David says, for Hancock 2, they could do a meta commentary on superhero fatigue and go crazy with it and do a film within a film approach. That's really fun. Gishgali says, I think Lord and Miller are developing a female Jump Street right now. Okay, listen. Ryan says, I believe Lord and Miller directed a Ryan Gosling space movie. Well, that has not come out. So I would have been there front and center for that. let's see. What does Lord and Miller have? Oh, love the yeah, okay. I have some personal things that are like clicking into place right now. For instance, I mean, just look at this. I need to see this movie. The Untitled Universal Monster Lord and Miller Project. Yes, please. But I digress. This is not what we need. This is not what I need. I need Phil Lord. Okay. Wait. Okay, here we go. What do we have in directing? I need director. Okay, here we go. So last directing credit was Last Man on Earth, the series, which I watched. Project Hail Mary. Is this the Gosling one you're talking about? Ooh, Drew Goddard wrote it? Here we go. Post-production. Expected March 2026. I have to wait more than a year? I don't want to do that. ZSH says, I never saw Hancock, but based on your description, it sounds a bit like James Gunn. Yes, it's super, is what you're talking about. And the ATJ, lost it. And the ATJ movie with Matthew Vaughn, Kick-Ass. Did Will do a special song for Miss MIB? Maybe that's where it went wrong. It's Project Hail Mary from the Martian book writer. Yes. I see. Yes, here it is. An astronaut tries to save Earth while alone in outer space. Okay, great. Great. They can make more than one live action thing every 10 years. I mean, I get it. They're living their lives. They're doing their thing. But like, I need them. I need them to keep making movies, please. Alan Smithy says, Lord and Miller produced the absolutely hilarious and underrated Last Man on Earth with Will Forte. Absolutely. That's their last directing credit that we were just talking about. Yes, the main character's name is Phil Miller. I watched Last Man on Earth. I very much enjoyed it. Another Mr. Lizard says, oh yeah, Hail Mary, they filmed some of that near where I live. Is Gosling still pretty up in space? Of course. Of course he is. Anyway, I don't need them to do a Lady Men in Black or Jump Street, rather. I don't need a Lady Jump Street. I'm sorry, but I don't. That's Lady Jump Street is called The Heat. Okay. I have that movie already. I don't need it. I just want them to give me my Men in Black Jump Street movie with Channing and Jonah. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to stop pouting and being a brat. And let's read this damn article about Hancock. This has taken me on a lot of tangents, and I apologize. So, 17 years after he starred in Hancock, Will Smith is teasing details about a possible follow-up to the superhero film. The Oscar, which also, like, I was like, Will Smith is on a Twitch live stream? Like, what? Can we get him on this show? Then the Oscar-winning actor made an appearance on XQC's Twitch live stream. He provides some more information about the project. There's a really cool Hancock 2 idea. We haven't even talked about it, so I'm going to give you one little piece. Zendaya is being approached for a role in Hancock 2. I'm sorry, Will, but once again, that means nothing to me. It's just, of course, you want Zendaya in your movie. Everyone wants Zendaya. Can Zendaya be in my movie? I've got a slasher movie she'd be great in. Like, she's not. She's busy. Okay, but whatever. What do I know? So Hancock comes out in 2008. This is the same year as John Favreau's Iron Man. So, you know, if you can picture the timing, right? Featured Smith as an amnesiac, alcoholic superhero who has to contend with the damage he leaves behind when saving lives in Los Angeles. After he saves a couple's life, played by Jason Bateman and Charlize Theron, they work with him to improve his public image and to remember his past. The Sony film was directed by Peter Berg, who went on to direct Deepwater Horizon and Patriots Day, and was written by V. Vincent Breaking Bad creator Vince Gilligan. Right. Hancock grossed over $600 million worldwide on a $150 million production budget, and Sony had no comment. This isn't the first time that speculation about a Hancock sequel has arisen. Back in 2009, Berg told MTV News that, quote, everybody is going to come back for a sequel. Oh, okay. In 2020, Theron told Comic Book that talks had died down in the years since the film's release, but acknowledged that she would do it in a heartbeat if given the opportunity. Smith recently won an Academy Award for King Richard. We all know what happened. While Zendaya won 2 Emmys for her turn as Rue in the HBO show Euphoria. Production on season 3 kicked off earlier this year. So now we know. I mean, yeah. The Heat was fire, by the way. How about a sequel to that? Yeah. How about it? I would like that. Yeah, tangent. Thank you for sticking with me on on our journey to Tangent Land. Oh gosh, I don't know anything about this, CSH, but totally valid, I suppose. Brian says James Cameron will have directed and released 2 movies since Lord and Miller directed a movie, and that is saying something, Brian. You have summed it up perfectly. King says, "Will pick up that name." Yeah, he seemed to have dropped something. Jesus says, "What do you think of The Rock working with Scorsese?" What? Let me Google it. Oh, wait. King's getting in here with a fact check. If it's real, I'm impressed that The Rock convinced Martin that he can act. Oh boy. Oh boy. Is this true? Is this the rumor? The Rock, Martin Scorsese. Let's look it up. Oh, 7 hours ago. Okay, I missed it. Well, yeah, I was actually away. Let's see. What does Deadline have to say? Town says aloha to a Hawaii set Goodfellas meets The Departed. Scorsese, DiCaprio, Dwayne Johnson, and Emily Blunt top crime drama package. Okay. This is an exclusive that broke earlier today. The hot package in town is a pitch for a Martin Scorsese directed untitled drama that would star Dwayne Johnson, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Emily Blunt. Okay, first of all, this is a great cast. That sounds great to me. But also, I'm gonna say we can't make this movie right now because remember this? Remember Devil in the White City? That was supposed to happen. Sorry, Marty and Leo are busy making the movie they should have made 20 years ago. Anyway, let's continue. Imagine Robert De Niro's Jimmy the Gent character from Goodfellas, but as a ruthless Hawaiian crime boss based on a real figure who battled encroaching rivals for control of organized crime in Hawaii. Okay, this is cool. Very different than we've seen before. To be written by Nick Bilton, the film focuses on a turbulent time on the island paradise when an aspiring mob boss battled rival crime factions to wrestle control of the underworld of the Hawaiian Islands. It was a bloody battle. The King of Terrain, Scorsese covered in both, Terrain, both covered in Goodfellas and The Departed. In the 1960s and 70s Hawaii, okay, first of all, perfect. I want to see a movie set there in that time. Love that. Okay. I mean, this is cool. This is a cool premise. You know, the thing is, The Rock, it's like I'm so like needing Emily Blunt in a comedy again. She's just so funny. And The Rock is funny. But this premise is not funny. I mean, it could be funny, but it's not going to be funny. This is going to be serious. The Rock's like, I need to win an Oscar. Which is fair. Okay, what do we have? David says, Hancock, wow, it made $630 million worldwide for an original IP. I'm actually surprised it didn't get another film. Well, I think because it was $150 million in 2008. That's a lot of money. I mean, think about it. That's a lot of money to invest. We were not, now to $150 million on a superhero movie is like, yeah, of course. But that's a pretty big budget. So, and also I'm sure you see they see Marvel and DC trying to revive their properties. I mean, I don't know. Sounds like there was a lot of, but also I guess to be fair, aside from Bad Boys, Will Smith wasn't doing sequels at that time, right? Please correct me if I'm wrong, but Bad Boys is its own thing. But he didn't do a sequel to Independence Day. He did Men in Black. What am I talking about? Of course he was. He was doing Men in Black and he was doing Men in Black and he was doing Bad Boys. That's fair. But he didn't just do a sequel willy-nilly, I guess, at that time. Alan, you worked on a Scorsese movie once. Provided newsreel footage, uses it in The Aviator. Never met him, though. Cool. That's awesome, though. Thank you for sharing that story. Another Mr. Lizard said, when was the last time Dwayne actually tried to act? Southland Tales? I mean, I like him in Pain and Gain. I think he's really good in Pain and Gain. And he's super charming and charismatic. I think he's a good actor. I don't think he's a bad actor, but I don't think he's done a ton of drama, which makes sense. I think it makes it, and also he wanted to have his franchises, right? So I guess I do get that in a way. I don't even know what this means. I don't want to know. Slimer says, I wonder if he saw an early screening of that new The Rock movie he did with A24, and that sold him on it. Oh my God, yes, King. Edge of Tomorrow 2. Make that. This is true, Steven. Maybe he wanted an Oscar nomination, though. You're right. A lot of noms, not a lot of wins. You are correct. Yes, we know Will turned down The Matrix for Wild Wild West. It's true. Men in Black 2 is the first sequel he did. If I'm wrong, someone call me out for it. And I liked Rock in Snitch. Yeah, I mean, The Rock's given some really good performances, but again, I think he's been more interested in franchises than acting. Not that they're exclusive, but it's different. This movie that is, do you like how it's just this big ad for a credit card? # not sponsored. This is something you do. This is a lineup. This is a lineup you do when you're I want to take on a job, a challenge that is not necessarily a family film or a blockbuster or superhero movie or franchise movie. So I get why this would be something The Rock wants to focus on now. I get that. Yeah, this is not ringing a bell for me, Fosa. The Rock was good in Faster. Lots of people don't know about that film, though. Well, I'm here for it. Let's do it. I bet if he shows up, he can knock it out of the park. The Rock is very good at a lot of things. So, But thank you for that breaking news. That was good breaking news. I guess the only other thing, that's what I was about to start talking about anyway. Okay, we don't have to spend a ton of time on this because we know that The Last of Us was coming in April. Now we have a release date of April 13th. My birthday is April 12th. No big deal. I got a lot of thoughts on this. David. Speaking of Southland Tales, I read that Richard Kelly is set to direct his first film in 15 years, finally out of Hollywood jail. I got a lot of thoughts, but whatever. Good for him. Sure. Okay. The Last of Us. I was talking to some guys the other night. Specifically, I was like at a dinner with a bunch of men. And we were talking about The Last of Us. And I was actually really surprised. They're all genre guys. And they all kind of went meh about The Last of Us. Now, I thought that like the consensus was that The Last of Us was like mind-blowingly good because I think I've mentioned it on the show, but I liked The Last of Us. I watched it. I'll continue to watch it. I don't know what happens in The Last of Us 2. I don't want it to be spoiled, like, but I know fans of the game are expecting something crazy. But The Last of Us, in addition to feeling rushed to me, which we talked about, but I felt like it just, and it's not fair because it was my job to like live and breathe The Walking Dead for 2 years. So, but I just felt like The Walking Dead did everything that The Last of Us does. And it's just it did it without like the HBO, budgets. It just was they had smaller, Walking Dead had smaller budgets. It ran for 10 years, like I get it. But like oh boy, Brian. But that said, like the thing that made The Last of Us interesting to me, the series, aside from the Nick Offerman Murray episode, was that they opened the first 2 episodes with cutting to the before times, and then we go into into post-apocalypse, and then they just sort of abandoned that. And I was kind of like, all right. And then we get to the end of the first season, and like I said, I felt like it was rushed. But then I was like, what is this offering us that we haven't seen before? So a bunch of these guys that I was with kind of echoed the same thing. And I was like, this is so interesting. I thought that everyone loved this show, and that was like kind of the end. But I don't know. Do you all have thoughts on this chat? What do we have? CSH says, oh, everyone was watching The Devil Wears Prada at the bar I just left. Still chillingly holds up now. We stan. Oh, same birthday as the lead singer of 311. Hey. Thank you, David. Very sweet. Gishgali says, I know a lot of terrible. This is why I'm like this guy. Whatever. Another Mr. Lizard says, I couldn't get into the game. I had the series set aside for ages to watch, just never got around to it. Okay. Fair. I never watched or played The Last of Us. Okay. Oh, me and your mom have the same birthday. Aw, that's fun. Aries Queens. All right, let's look this up and close things out. I don't know. I just wanted to I just was curious about if the reception to season 2, what it's going to be like. That's all. And I was curious if you all had any thoughts. All right. Gunn. Here we go. Can you just see what? Like, okay. Here we go. James posted this picture. Always a pleasure catching up with my friend Zack Snyder, consummate filmmaker and doubly consummate storyteller. Now, let us not forget, of course, we all are immediately going to the DC of it all, but Zack Snyder directed Dawn of the Dead, which was a script that James Gunn wrote. So those two's careers, like taking off in the feature world, actually go back. Wasn't Dawn of the Dead 2004? Pretty sure it was. So this, understandably, fans are freaking out. But what's funny is that these two like have collaborated in the. I mean, not saying that. I think James was for hire, of course, on that script, and Zack. I don't know if they worked together directly on that, but like, of course, they know each other. Like, of course. And now, of course, there's this crossover with the DC of it all. So, but I hope that this is like maybe trying to say like, we're gonna have a new Superman coming out. Please, everyone, like just please chill out. Oh, hey, Yogurt Girl. Great to see you. Okay. Yes, another Mr. Lizard. He is. Brian, they're friends. Yeah. So what? Oh gosh, what just happened? God, James Gunn loves threads. Like truly loves threads. Okay. In a photo posted on February 20th on his account, Gunn posed with his arm around Snyder. Always a pleasure. Okay, we just read that. In the comments, fans were divided between, oh my God. Fans were divided between praising the DCEU crossover between the two filmmakers, as in the crossover of in life, and asked Gunn not to bring Snyder back to the DCU. Oh my God. What is happening? Over the years, Gunn and Snyder have shown support for each other. In December 2024, Gunn revealed he consulted with the Man of Steel director over Superman's trunks. And it was a brief coming together, but it had the red trunks, it had the whole thing. And we really went back and forth. I even talked to Zack Snyder about it. Okay. Snyder also showed his support for the new DCU, talking to comic book resources to promote Rebel Moon. The filmmaker said, I'm a pretty open book. I really feel like if the characters are treated with reverence and mythologically correct, then I'm down. I'm in. Let's see what happens. I'm pretty excited. I mean, we're going to get Superman pretty soon. So we'll see what that's like. Gunn replied, noting, I didn't wait to Snyder's DCU support. I already knew this because he texted me. He's been incredibly supportive throughout this process. Yep. And then here is pointing out that they that Zack directed his script in the past. Yeah. This is just, what are we doing? What is happening? Yeah, I mean, agreed, Steven. I didn't think it means anything about him hiring Snyder. Of course it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. I think Gunn just wants to show his respect in hopes, yes, his fans will stop attacking the new. Yes, 100%. 100%. Breaking news. That's right. This is good intel, Stephanie. I did not hear about Twitch removing all VODs in April. Oh, that have anything over 100. That's sad. I did. It's funny. This is another tangent, but like I did a big download a couple of months ago because I needed to like put my reel together, which I still haven't done. But thank you for the heads up. Actually, I should go through again and happened a couple of days ago. Yogurt says, I missed the show with Michael, but I'm excited to watch the video. Hard Eyes looks so good. It is good. It is good. All right, gang. What a time. So, yeah, as Brian said, Zack's directing Clayface. You heard it here first. No, that's a joke. They're just friends. It's okay, everyone. I know, I gotta make my sizzle reel. I need a job. I need a job, I need to cut a little hosty reel, that's for sure. Okay, so this was a good day, everyone. We had a good time. Okay, as a reminder, there is no more Monday show. It's a Tuesday show now. So please join us on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. And barring any other unforeseen circumstances, Anthony DeBlasi will be our guest on Tuesday. So as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to send them to me on social media, drop them in the Discord, drop them on Patreon. Anthony is a wealth of information. He loves talking movies. He is a fabulous director. I love working with him. He's just the best. So yes. Yes, Stephen B, correct. Actor wants job. Hey, Clarke, would you ever be interested in playing, Lois Lane's sister in the DCEU? Oh my God, thank you so much for asking. I would love that. I've been a huge fan of the DCU for so long, and James Gunn is an incredible director. So if that phone rang, I'd be there. That's my act out of every single one of those conversations. Actor wants job. Thank you, Brandon. Okay, what else do we have? Oh, good. I'm so glad, Stephanie, that Tuesdays and Thursdays are great. I'm really glad you enjoyed the Hereditary show, Mirror. I really liked that one too. That was a 6-hour ordeal. That was a 2-parter. I know. I should upload some of those. They were fun. I missed that job. That was a fun job. Okay, yeah, no job. Best plug the Patreon. You can join Patreon. Haha. You can join for free. You can join for dollars, whatever. Thank you all for being here. Love having you guys here. This was such a fun chat. Thank you, Nicholas, for all, and everybody in chat for all of your insights. That was really fun. And yeah, Tuesdays are the new Mondays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Great. Yeah, Clarke for Poison Ivy. Thank you, David. Please let James know. Seriously. I remember when Rachel Ziegler was asked why she wanted to be in Shazam, and she said, I need to make money. Yes, actors like jobs. Okay, I'm just ranting now. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for being here. Have a great weekend. Please be safe. Thank you for all of your wonderful commentary in the stream. And in the chat, I love doing this with you guys. Okay, bye, y'all. See you later.